The Gamma Quadrant Ho train has pulled into the station here on V'ger Please. Vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
And I'm ready to talk Star Trek. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Ready to talk Star Trek. Some very imaginative way of introducing yourself.
Well, I figure every now and then we gotta connect to the basics, which in that light, our shtick, if somehow you're coming in on our 16th episode in Deep Space Nine, I've never seen these before. Joe's seen all of them. We love what we watch. And luckily with Deep Space Nine, it's easy to enjoy the process of watching these things. And when there's a silly episode, we shit on it. And when there's a good episode, we praise it.
I have to say, I had a comment via email from one of our viewers who asked us to institute like a letter grade process. And I had to remind them, well, no, we have a grade process. It's just great, good, meh, bad, terrible.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, it's a pretty close equivalent to the classic rankings, and somehow I think more descriptive of what it feels like to watch those kinds of episodes.
That's it's the mouth feel, right?
Yeah, which is different, but I think more appropriate. Maybe
on the scale, it should be like reverse S grade. It should be like instead of S being whatever what is it? Supra? Is that what they?
Superior.
Well, it could be like shit, and that'll be adjacent to terrible, and the shit grade is the time theft episodes, which I don't think we've had a single DS9 episode yet that has really just felt like a complete fucking drag.
Even Move Along Home was fun to watch because it was bad.
Very strong fan interaction on that one. And it's not people saying, hey, no, I really enjoyed it, so much as it was so ridiculous with such bad parts in it that they became their own comical meme kind of. And I'm sure Avery Brooks singing that song at the convention, was it Anne-Marie? Was that what it was?
Anne-Maline, yeah. The little jingle that they had to sing to get through the puzzle.
Fun stuff, right?
A lighter version of the show for sure. None of it has been truly terrible. I think the worst I can say is a couple episodes of the season have bored me. And that's nothing compared to what we've been through in the past.
Season 1, Voyager, you heard it many times. You're going to hear it again. Ex post facto, time and again, learning curve, the Cloud. I don't even think the Cloud really deserves to be on.
Oh no, the Cloud deserves it. I've recently went back and listened to some of our Voyager entries. You're going to hear Peter and I maybe talk about the good old days a bit more and be a little bit more introductive, because we've become increasingly aware of a much larger group of people listening to the show than we had really previously realized. So we're just, hey guys,
yeah,
thanks for listening.
Thanks for going back and starting with our old Voyager episodes and somehow getting through my Logitech gaming headset microphone that sounded like complete shit.
Which was only for like the first 3. By the 4th episode, we sounded good, I must say. And I've been going back through those old episodes to be like, okay, well, people are starting to kind of catch on to our show in ways I didn't anticipate. Let me remind myself what our early takes were. And yeah, first couple episodes were tough, but it wasn't long before we were hitting our stride. And frankly, it was the candy corn tragedy that I think really helped us find our rhythm. But talking about that episode where the Cloud, which I think you described Voyager as rolling over and peeing on itself in order to escape a space monster.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And it's bad. It's really bad. And you really hated it.
I'm really confusing it for the one where Janeway and Torres have their warp particles moment, which was that wasn't time and again, was it?
I forget. Oh, the coffee commercial. Jean-Luc.
It's the one where they see their own reflection and they're trying to reach it.
Yes, it's when they like have the like real nerdy science conversation to each other with increasing enthusiasm.
That one in my head much better than Chakotay's super low energy. We can solve the dilemma by becoming submissive. I mean, that's totally Starfleet, but that's not what I'm watching this TV show for, man. Come on. This TV show, however, Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 16, first aired May 16th, 1993. My wife decided to sit in and watch this one with me, which was very interesting.
Oh, I have to say, that's quite a choice. What was the name of the episode? You skipped that part.
If wishes were horses.
If we, is your inability to pronounce words now just all words?
No, that's going to be the podcast title, though, because
wishes were whores, yes.
For Quark, if wishes were whores, you'd have these extra Dabo girls. Teleplate, man, look at this. What a party. Neil McHugh Crawford, William L. Crawford, and Michael Piller. Story by Neil McHugh Crawford and William Crawford. Directed by Robert Legato.
This is the only episode these Crawford fellas apparently worked on.
Good.
I didn't dislike this at all. I'll be honest. I thought it was actually, there was some very good character stuff they managed to mine out of this eventually.
Good fake out early on with introducing Rumpelstiltskin, because Eve, my wife, was like, oh, what the fuck? Are we going to be just watching a whole show of Rumpelstiltskin, which felt like a very TNG thing to do. And I agree with you. They expand it and they do some cool stuff with it. Ultimately, this is going to be a story about strange aliens observing from within. I think it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to kind of liken this a little bit to the Enterprise episode where they kill off, who is it? Hoshi and Trip. You got the skin riding aliens going in and observing from within.
Oh yes, observer effect from the 4th season. Yes. And it's, yeah, Hoshi and Trip are the ones that got the turbo aids that they can't shake. And the Organians do like take their body over at some point.
I don't know. Are we going to talk about the end of Enterprise? Is that off limits? Some of the twists, I'm air quoting here, some of the twists that happen in the second to last season. Or I'm sorry, the second to last episode. Actually, that wasn't the last episode. These are the voyages. That would have been a much better way for Trip to go, in my opinion.
That's true. That would have been a much better way for Trip to go, other than
Demons and Terra Prime. I don't know. Although it would have been pretty badass in this episode if somebody would have summoned forth the image of RoboCop.
Odo could have used help.
Wow, Odo and RoboCop. There's a lot of similarity there with both of them going rogue, except one of them kills everybody with a gun, and the other one.
If Odo had seen like an old movie of RoboCop, and it's like he really enforces the law well. You know, he's got this clarity of vision. I liked the concept behind this is totally like TNG, maybe even TOS like, right? You know,
very
think of
TOS.
Think of Shore Leave, the episode from TOS. Apparently, they made a very distinct changes to this because it came right after a Mortiari episode on TNG, so they didn't want to do holographic creatures come to life twice in a row on both of their shows. So I like that it isn't quite that either, although it does include an element of that to increase the weirdness factor. And I also like that they linked it to why are they doing this at DS9? You know, they answer that question. They close the loop on this thing in a very nice and clean, tight way that makes it make sense for it be something that happens here. So, like, unlike some of the other stuff we watched this season where it's like boring and it's just like a TNG script they shoehorned into DS9, this seems more like a story taking place here. And I love that we start with what you have noticed is one of the best interaction points to build your story around. And that's Odo and Quark shooting the shit in his bar as he tries to figure out his next scheme.
I want to, before we get into the episode, you've got me thinking now. Like, you're Starfleet, you're on a ship, maybe you're on a deep space exploration vessel. You see nutty shit, and maybe some of you die, but ultimately you leave. And you hope that the next place you're going is going to be not as bad as perhaps the last place was. And again, Enterprise, Voyager, they encounter nonsense quite a bit more than your average crew does.
Right, because they're on the fringes of space in one way or another.
DS9 was supposed to be this assignment to bring Bajor into the Federation and help rebuild a war-torn planet, right? And then the
Correct.
space butthole is established. And now you are stationed on the frontier of madness. You've got the Gamma Quadrant out there. Nothing good has come through that hole. There's no gate to stop things. Of course, we're going to get into the Dominion War, which is a war, right? But a lot of the stuff that they've encountered, or at least this is what the second kind of like weird non-corporeal humanoid alien event, right? Because the first one was the honeycomb egg of doom that was going to pull the station into
the space baby that had to be born lest they all die.
Well, handwave Q because he's a threat anywhere. Now there's this thing, like, if it's not just ships that come through the wormhole and like, oh, I don't know, demons that eat your soul from the Delta Quadrant, if you'll recall that fucking thing.
A real phenomenon that did exist.
A real party pooper. But, you know, you're on this thing where God knows what deep sea alien eldritch horror might be rolling through. And you're not on a ship where you're going to zip off to the next place and maybe it's better. Like, you are going to be at the frontier of madness for as long as your assignment lasts.
And as we have already noted, the crew that inhabits the station, that is leading the station, they were not picked to be the people who are on the leading cutting edge of known space at the nexus of the most important superhighway ever to be accidentally borfed into, trying to man the battlements in an old Cardassian pilot station.
No, this is basically guys that I don't know, fix highway bridges. Like, this is like, might as well all be Starfleet Engineering Corps. You are down there to assist in rebuilding a planet and some light diplomacy.
Correct. And keep the fucking lights on, right? Your operations chief isn't even an officer. He's a CPO that you got off the flagship, who's just really good.
A good get.
A good get. He's really good at making sure your blenders work. But that's what he's there for.
He was picked because he has killed a lot of people and picked up some Cardassian along the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's definitely had to have been an element of that. When you're Cisco and your staff on this place, you're like, give me this guy.
He has an ear for Cardassian. Many ears for Cardassian. In fact, it's a whole necklace.
I just see him in his quarters. He just gets it out every once in a while and just starts to caress it, just very slowly. And
his
then
wife, Kiko, comes in. I told you to throw that away.
It smells. It smells, Miles.
Oh, Julian, you got any formaldehyde I can keep this in? It's starting to go on me. The Quark, the Odo, it is so good. It was such a good opener that when my wife came down, it was already off to the Julian part where he's getting told no. I reset the whole episode. Armin Shimmerman's body language with Quark, like just his hand movements and his body movements. The dude works the costume, the dude works the makeup, and whatever limitations that makeup might have on his face, he is more than making up with A+ body language. And
I've so intently watched this since we started talking about it, because it's been so fascinating to really think about how much makeup he has on and how good he is at acting through it, to the point where it makes it not feel like he's wearing as much makeup as he obviously is.
If anybody has YouTube videos or him being interviewed on what his acting method was, that's not like heavily spoiler laden, I would like to know more about his process. I wouldn't be surprised if he did some mime work or something, or like what his background is, because just the whole fucking thing works. And it's so starkly contrasted by Odo, who is just sitting there very stoic, minus his like you know, his shitty little laughs.
And that's another actor who's in a lot of makeup, right? It's different, and it's designed to make him look awkward and almost statue-like, right? Like
Yes.
not human, not real, because he's imperfectly imitating a humanoid form. And that the makeup job obviously pulls that off quite well. Although I will say that there's more variation in Odo's makeup than there is on anybody else, simply because the application of it isn't exactly the same from episode to episode, the way that it really is for the Ferengi. Different conversation point maybe, but in this circumstance, he's doing the same thing where, Armin Shimmerman's using his whole body, he's using his body language to emphasize what he's doing, kind of make everything he's doing bigger. Rene Abajeros knows like his role is to just be kind of smaller but tall and just kind of be defiant in the face of Quark being very animated towards him as they discuss, frankly, that Quark is getting out of the porno business and he wants to get into the family entertainment business.
Not getting out. He's just diversifying. He's got plenty of hard drive space.
He's going to expand. He wants to have his porno Hollow Suites on one side, and he wants to have his wholesome baseball ones on the other side.
I don't think he said that. He wants more, but I think he's perfectly happy having kids go to Quarkland amusement parks in the same Hollow Suite that someone was just banging the cat people.
I did appreciate that his discussion of how to better monetize Quarks is exactly what they do in Lower Decks when they go visit Ferenginar. Like that his capitalist vision has been realized by his brother on the surface of Ferenginar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it just makes me like the Lower Decks writers even more and more that they took a detail like this from a first season DS9 episode and was like, what if he was right? What if that's actually what they should do?
I like the Odo character building, that he does not have a sense of smell.
Right. Why would he? Right? Like he doesn't.
I don't know. Why would a rock knock him out? It's wild rules over here. All right.
I'm trying to figure it out. They know they want to do something with him, but they're not sure what it is yet.
What prompts the discussion about him pivoting towards family? And again, the guy's got insight. Jump back to whatever the Ferengi nonsense episode was where they had the Grand Nagus. Like, Stude knows what he's talking about. Quark understands what the opportunity is, and that DS9 is only going to continue to grow in importance, that you're going to get more and more people, that he is on a space station that is rated to hold, 7,000 people, and they're at like 1,200 or something.
Yeah, some hundreds, yeah.
So, very big upwards mobility here in terms of opportunity. And in comes Jake Sisko, and Odo's like, why has he got a long wooden stick and that weird glove? What kind of goofy, kinky stuff have you allowed this boy into? Is Sisko paying for this, or do you think Quark's just given Jake access to these Hollow Suites for free to stay in his dad's good graces?
I would imagine, because we do see a lot of Starfleet officers who do have some amount of gold press latinum available to them, that in order for them to be able to, live outside of Federation space, which they are, they actually have to pay them a salary or give them some kind of requisition, some amount of gold press latinum to be used by the Starfleet contingent there. So I don't think Quark is doing it for free. I think Sisko is paying him.
Disagree. I think that Quark has almost gotten everybody killed several times now, and he is still not in jail. I think Quark is a smart person, and he understands, like, hey, I'm going to comp the president of the station, his kid, half an hour of Jack Shack time a night, just stay in good graces, because I am smart.
Dear Benjamin Sisko, I am sorry I may have hired mercenaries on behalf of an evil, psychotic, immortal Dr. Mengele in order to commit crimes. Please take this voucher for 1 hour at my Hollow Suites.
Dear Commander
Sisko, sincere apology, signed Quark.
Sorry about the time I let those space hillbillies turn you into a Monopoly piece. Because I tried to cheat them at the Dabo table.
Your
Please
son
enjoy
may
this
play with Ted
coupon.
Williams on the holodeck whenever he likes.
Enjoy this buy one get one coupon for my Sunday bar.
And this is where we find out that, of course, Jake is playing baseball, and the Ciscos both have a deep love of baseball. This will actually be a very well developed trait as the rest of this series goes on, including, in fact, spoiler alert, the baseball that Cisco receives in this episode actually becomes a very, very important object for his character as time goes on. And things are still going. It's a quiet day on the station. You've got Dax telling Bashir to stop asking me out. I'm definitely not into you, and he's been kind of a weenie about it.
I like her. I like that he's relentless. I like that he's not a creep. I like that he is spitting game and I can't sleep. You're all I can think about. Like really laying it on thick. And she's like, wow, that's amazing that you're so distraught while you've been destroying the female ranks. This chick, that chick, this girl, that girl, and him like just smiling while she's bombarding him with haymakers. Like, well, that one was a pale imitation. That one came a little closer, and like, fun little game they're playing, right?
Absolutely, they're being flirty. But this is where Dax is. All right, you done, buddy. All right, it was fun up until now, but it's no. He's all shucks.
I still
Gosh,
haven't forgiven you for not calling security when I was getting kidnapped.
you tried to double axe handle like you were Jim Kirk himself, and you got absolutely busted for it. Way to go, pal.
Nothing closes the door like me getting kidnapped by my ex-girlfriend's angry son.
And I really liked when Dax goes up to ops, and they're like, "So how is the doctor? Young." just the smile, right? He's
Mhm.
young. That's what he is. Anyway, what's going on up here? What are you
How
two
is the
up
doctor? Well, let's just start calling him Dr. Fuckboy.
to?
Dr.
Wait,
Julian Fuckboy.
it's 20
He's
minutes in.
Italian.
It's fine. Yeah, Dr. Julian Fuckboy. That's good.
MD. Dr. Fuckboy.
He's Dr. Well, it's good. Okay. So she there's another comedy beat in this same scene when they're like, hey, do some scans. She does some scans. He's like, I see some radiation out there. And they're like, yeah, what is that? And they're like, well, it could mean this and it could mean that. Could be our problem. And then Kira's just gotta go, yeah, we know that part. We're just hoping you can tell us which of those are gonna be true. You're the science officer for this ship. You're it. You're
Also,
the one.
congratulations for finally being at your station. I feel like every time we've seen Dax, she's been out on a runabout or not ass in chair.
Like, you have a station. It's to do science things here. Where's the science thing off the port bow? Would you please figure it out for us? Thank you.
So, cut over to Miles O'Brien.
Yeah.
Having a nice day. I'm assuming he's off work. He's got his daughter, who my wife was very interested in Molly and how old she was in this thing. And then she's like, well, what year was this recorded? And I was like, 93. Which is crazy, again, to look at these like super children actors and being like, yep, you're an adult.
Yep.
You are almost as old as I am. And like, how crazy to be like, yeah, I was in Star Trek. Probably a lot, I'm assuming.
I think she's in like 11 or 12 episodes. Hannah Hatte, the little girl who plays Molly in this.
Very cute. And both parents are there for story time, which is a complete fabrication. Usually one parent is roped into reading a book and the other one is far away. So again, we're in space fantasy here, right?
I mean, we know the space fantasy is complete that they were actually managed to get her down to bed and then they were going to immediately go to Fucktown. I'm pretty sure you can tell me if that's how it goes. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
No. They're like, hey, let's go sit on the couch and we'll both look at our pads.
And we'll just kind of sit in the empty silence for a while, trying to sort of having a pseudo moment of meditation.
That's the good part of the night, man. That's the good part of the night. So Miles is reading her the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Nice character acting in there. Leaves. And then, they're about to go get it on and Molly comes back out. No, he's in there, Rumpelstiltskin. Which, just classic trope. Like, of course the fucking monster's in there. Why don't you go check it out? And then you get a nice clue into just how strong the Federation antidepressants are that they're issuing to the people on Deep Space Nine. The frontier of madness.
Oh, yes.
Because O'Brien walks in there, ready to just be like, see, there's nothing in there. And there's this gnarly ass little, what do they call him? A dwarf? An elf? A gnome?
They call him a dwarf.
I don't know if that's the correct D&D class on this guy.
It would probably be gnome, but this is where some interesting data comes from the memory alpha. So they were going to describe Rumpelstiltskin as a leprechaun.
And I'm assuming in the quote-unquote Third World War that I do not believe happened, that along with the most dangerous game, all of the copies of Warwick, was his name Warwick Davis?
Correct.
The Leprechaun were lost in the nuclear fires. Because if I walked in there and I saw this motherfucker, I would have screamed. But both through ignorance of Leprechaun, like I was Garth. No, Wayne! But both by the power of Federation antidepressants and the lack of the Leprechaun movie series, he's real cool about it.
The reason why he's not a leprechaun is that Colmini complained.
Oh,
he said it's racist against Irish people. No.
What?
Yeah. No. It's like very explicit in the memory alpha. Like, this is demeaning and degrading towards Irish people, that every time like Irish actors have to deal with like, ooh, me Lucky Charms. Like, and think about this in context of the fact they end up doing Fairhaven on Voyager, by the way. Okay. So.
Yeah, but nobody in there is Janeway. I don't know. Janeway doesn't really ever say she's Irish, does she?
I mean, she's Irish ancestry descended. That is definitely part of her character, but I'm just saying the concern for the cultural sensitivity of the Irish is a very temporary matter to DS9 while an Irish actor is working there.
I keep in mind this is the guy that had to go through what was that TNG episode with the Irish people living in squalor in the cargo bay.
I forget the name of it, but it's the one with the redhead that bangs Riker. I remember
very
that part.
High point on that. That's the good part of the episode. I'm pretty sure O'Brien's in that episode too, like offered drink by the alcoholic leader guy.
Yeah, Irish colonists, yes.
I'll say this. I agree with his complaint that he's paired to the character. Had it been Bashir that got Rumpelstiltskin or a leprechaun, I'd say it'd be no harm, no foul. But the fact that he specifically is paired with it, that's fine. I thought you were going to say that he was going to be a leprechaun, and then Leprechaun. When did Leprechaun come out?
The movie? No, it was entirely.
Ooh, well, 93.
Oh wow, that could have been the reason.
93, January 8th, and this was May 16th. So they had to know. So I can understand Colin being very sensitive about the topic of leprechauns, given what old Warwick Davis is up to over there. Hey, what could have gotten Warwick Davis to play a leprechaun? That's the episode I need.
More importantly, as you noted, though, it doesn't really shock Chief O'Brien that much that a mythical dwarven creature is now in his daughter's room. He
child thief.
He doesn't really react strongly. He's more mildly perplexed and somewhat mystified. He doesn't even call for security immediately. He calls for security eventually. He
To be fair,
assesses the target. He's like, you know what? You're not a Cardassian. I know, therefore I can kill you. You are half the size of the men I have killed.
he
I can
performs
handle
his
this.
ocular pat down, deems it a medium threat.
I was on the Enterprise for years.
And that's,
Your weirdo shit is nothing.
you think this is the first time a monster's just appeared in my fucking quarters? Get bent, pal. This is a Wednesday on that ship. This dude looks disgusting and scary. And it's in your child's bedroom. Him being as chill as he is unnerving. Even Kiko's kind of like, oh gosh, Miles, what is it? Like, there's no mad dash to go get a phaser that's taped under a table or whatever.
Yeah.
And even when he calls security, security comes in, guns out, ready to go, sees this little fucking monster, and what do?
Put their guns back in their holsters.
Put their guns away.
Yes.
The one that looks like the physique of the Rock goes up to grab the guy. He disappears, appears behind the security force, and then walks forward and drags his hand across the dude's ass over his thigh. Gives like his dick a little flick. I went back and rewatched. I was like, what's up with this handsy ass leprechaun or whatever? Is dwarf the correct term? I don't, whatever. This little handsy little monster, basically. And security's just like, ooh, okay.
It's amazing that they also don't seem particularly moved by the fact this thing teleports behind them right in front of them. Like when they try to grab him, they attempted the disarm maneuver, grab the forearm, right?
Sure, yeah.
Maybe that'll work there. Classic Starfleet move.
It's not a girl. That's a bad move. These guys suck.
Well, obviously.
He teleported and we can't catch him. Guess we're going to have to zap his dumb ass. I mean, he is intruding in quarters of, senior leadership here.
So, it's Rumpelstiltskin, spin straw to gold, make a pact with me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's weird. Meanwhile, you've got Bashir, who's just apparently sleeps in his uniform. He just takes his shoes off and just lays down like a psychopath on like some ugly looking cot.
I figured he was laying on the bio bed and he's just sleeping on the job.
Apparently he's in his quarters and there's another pair of hands that starts to rub all over him. And it's Dax. And Dax really wants him. All of a sudden it's, I've broken into your quarters. I'm trying to get your pants down. And he goes through this whole process where in the middle of Dax trying to make out with him, he's like scanning her with a medical tricorder, trying to come up with some scientific reason as to why he can't take advantage of the situation. And I really liked that. I thought that really worked. Like, okay, there's no way that my fantasy is coming true exactly this way. That's not possible. I'm in Starfleet. I'm a doctor. There has to be something that's happening here. We're going to scan. We're going to start eliminating some things. I'm going to be a panicky little boy while I'm doing it because a hot girl's here trying to fuck me, but I'm still going to do my job. Perfect.
Absolutely. This guy's green as fuck. He's fresh out of the academy. Maybe at this point there's been enough hijinks on various ships that they're really pushing the ask questions first, fuck later agenda.
If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Should be some kind of fucking class at Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, after the second mission of the flagship Enterprise, which was Naked Now, we're gonna have to have a real dedicated series of ethical classes about what happens when your coworkers want to fuck a little bit too much. Go through the list. Alien influencer, space madness. Is it a hologram? Doppelganger? What else do we have on our lists?
Cadet set attention. Got to be seated. Today we'll be covering Starfleet Command protocols in regards to what happens when everyone on your ship is too horny. Counselor Troy, please take us through it. Like, there's a whole system.
Troy's slide deck has pictures from Barclay's Three Musketeers hollow novel of like all the women fawning over him and stuff.
Don't be like this.
His face has black bars over the eyes, so you can't tell who it is.
Subject A was one of my most problematic patients.
I love the fact that he does not have his head up his ass. That he at least puts the effort in to see what the fuck is going on. And once everything checks out as okay.
Okay, I guess I am fucking you. Sweet. All right. Thank you very much.
Cool. And then instantly abandons it once his ego is on the line, that everybody gets called to the bridge. And he's just like, man, fuck Cisco. Fuck this whole station. They're trying to make fun of me. Everybody's against me. They sent Hottie Trill Lady in. I forget when she makes the comment. Something wise beyond her years comment, right? And my wife's like, what's going on there? Why does she have... Why are they calling her old man? And I'm like, this is a species where she's got a slug, a symbiotic slug inside her that retains the memory. And like, I lay it out there and I look at her and she's like, that's actually pretty cool. And I'm like, right?
Yeah. It kind of comes into play here in a way that I feel like is unique specifically to how they structured the joined Trill concept, which is Dax is ultimately very forgiving of Julian, even when she finds out about this fantasy, because this is, the fake submissive Dax.
Mm-hmm.
Of like to say, like, I was a young man. I completely understand what you're like. You don't think I don't understand why you're horny? I understand why you're horny. And I feel bad about the fact now everyone has been exposed to how horny you are. That's very embarrassing. And anyone else who's ever been a young man knows that's very embarrassing. So it's kind of bullshit for you, not for us.
My money was going to be on her sleeping with other Dax.
Oh, I mean, if you would like to place your money on will Dax eventually get gay, you should go ahead and put your money on it.
Yeah, but specifically with herself, like, where is Julian showing restraint and being professional? Like, it to come out by then, like, oh yeah, no, I banged myself.
I squared that away. Well, I had to know. Okay, I've been around for 600 years. You don't think I'm a complete degenerate now?
Unlike you, I'm a great scientist, and I did that.
I wanted to know what it was like to fuck myself, and now I do. And now every other Dax will know that too. Forever.
Yep.
Such is the pleasure of being true. That is like an Always Sunny in Philadelphia move, though. I fucked my fake alien imagination clone.
So here's what's going on. Everybody gets an imaginary friend. Dr. Fuckboy gets a fake Dax, and Miles gets Rumpelstiltskin, who does not like having his name spoken. And
Jake gets Buck Buckeye, who is
did Jake get him, or did Cisco get him?
I think technically Jake got him because he kept both of them. Maybe he appeared in front of Jake a couple times.
So where's Cisco's wife at? Give me that trauma.
I think that they were trying to stay away from doing that again, but that would have been made the most sense, right? The moment he sees like what he was probably always daydreaming about his wife, right? Like, absolutely, his imagination runs there. She should have shown up. But this allows you to learn different things about your main character's personality that isn't he's a widower.
Let's go to the deleted scenes here where there's reports in the promenade that Jean-Luc Picard is hanging lynched from the from the fucking balcony.
I mean, that is true. Everyone here had a very nice imagination this day. No one had a brutal, sort of like bloody, terrible imagination. Like, at most it was horny, at worst it was wholesome. Oh, I take it back. Kira's imagination sucks. She just dies in like a suicide bombing in her imagination.
Yeah, what the...
Never mind. I take it back. There was one.
Well, and then, Odo's fantasy is Quark and bondage. So move over, Garrick. There's a second kinky person on the promenade.
I do like that the B plot comedy route in this is Odo having to try and somehow police and deal with the increasingly erratic imaginations of all of the people around him, up to and including what may be one of the quietest, funniest things ever, which is just a random emu has shown up on the promenade, a space emu, and here's like Renee Abjar's has got to get this thing off screen, right? So he does his line, and they're still rolling, and he's got to get it off screen. He's like, "Oh, all right, this way, on you go." It's like, it's like I don't think that was written on the page, but I could totally see Odo just be like, "All right, move along." I don't know what the fuck to do with the. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with you. Fucking Starfleet people are here, and now this shit's happening. Like,
I'm pretty sure if you kick me, you have a big claw. So
he even talks. He talks shit about the fact, like, is this some sort of Starfleet science experiment gone wrong? Is that why this fucking shit's happening now? Is it your fault?
That's a fun question to ask. You know, they're not really going out of their way to do active experiments, but on a ship, like, that kind of stuff's pretty common. And that's something Starfleet has to be cognizant of, that they're not just endangering the life of enlisted and officers. You've got this big civilian contingent there, and your actions have dangerous consequences. Julian Bashir with his, I think this might be a medical field generator or whatever.
Oh, I cloned someone. Oh, no.
No, I just shot, data and invoked emotions, and thank God he was sitting there. Otherwise, that other crew member in the back would have totally gotten nailed.
I do appreciate the meta commentary, though, that somehow Federation science bullshit going wrong and creating wacky adventures is something that Oda would just know about. Right? Like, the word is out. If you see these motherfuckers show up with their damn black jumpsuits and their colors on their shoulders, go the other direction.
Good advice.
Everyone goes up to ops. Everything is checked out. These things are real. Whatever's happening isn't not like a malfunctioning holodeck or merely figments. Everyone sees these things. They're real. They're physical. And clearly there's something going wrong. And they start to associate the problem with a tear in subspace that evidently, this is the lore we're kind of getting here. When there's a tear in subspace, the physical rules of the universe start to waver. They don't apply as you would expect, and maybe it could create imaginary people. Who knows?
Anything's possible when you have a tear in space that looks like a space vagina. That's all I can see. You got the butthole behind it. They got the whole Southern anatomy being assembled in space over Bajor. What a place to live. What prime reality. You can either live on Azeroth's surface or up in the celestial genitalia of
you're damned either way, right? Like, you want to get off of Azeroth and you're, what did you call it, a doom level? doom level / truck stop. Like, or you go to that moon they just exploded for, like, apparently power. I mean, I guess you can't go there.
Okay, so here's you've got the radically dangerous monster laden surface. You've got the UAC orbital installation. Oh no, here's a very pleasant moon where you could just live and be happy, and the air is clean and there's no Cardassian torture camps. Yeah. Set the atmosphere on fire there. We can't have anybody anywhere near happiness.
While Odo's attempting to police the promenade, he heads into Quark's. He tries to get people to stop imagining things. That's when we find out that Quark has exactly the imagination you would expect. Comes down, and he is very pleased at what his imagination has brought him, and that is underboob for days the way only a Ferengi can do it. Some very, very much 90s hotties accompanying him in very little clothing, immediately fondling his ears, which again is like JOing him in public. And he's got zero complaints. He's like, if the Starfleet people are responsible for this happening, then they are great. Like, more science experiments, please.
I was surprised to see him so easily distracted. That his sexual urges are paramount over his financial savvy.
Yeah, he doesn't realize he's getting taken to the cleaners by everyone imagining themselves winning until it's essentially too late. His eye was off the ball. It shows he has a weakness for the ladies. I like it.
I don't blame him.
One of those two showed up in Enterprise, actually, the blonde. She was one of the augmented Klingons that stormed the ship. If you remember that, stormed the NX-01. Like the lead female was her.
The one who gets up in General Uncle Phil's face and calls his son a punk?
Correct.
I'm surprised that they put someone that pretty under that much makeup, especially horny-ass Enterprise. I'm surprised she wasn't in the decon chamber with the
it was
dog.
Season 4 by then. They were trying to tone it down a touch.
They could have made her an Orion. They did not tone it down for that.
It's very true. They turned it up for that.
Yeah, I have like no notes on this thing. Like that's how entertaining the episode was. And sitting here, like not that much stuff happens because the space dilemma is basically unsolvable. They shoot
Correct.
probes out there. There is anecdotal evidence that the Vulcans encountered something 200 years ago that nobody knows about because the thing like killed everybody and was this big world-ending event. Things are shaping up real bad. They're going to need to really work on fixing this because not only is the station at danger, but if they fuck up, Bajor is going to get wiped out too, and maybe the wormhole. Sprinkle in all of the various creatures conspiring behind closed doors, showing us that they are not what they appear to be. Because like it's the baseball player, what's his name, Bucky?
Yeah, Bucko Kai. Yeah.
Really trying to connect with Sisko. Hey, and I think he was speaking as a holodeck character and not as the original. Because he's like, hey, I saw you out in the audience, and that really meant a lot to me. Thanks for being there for me. You're a real pal. Blah, blah, blah.
I loved the actual like backstory you get about what happened to baseball. It's a sad but very believable story as we sit here ourselves. People stopped watching. They stopped caring about baseball, and so the league folded. So apparently 2045 it was the last World Series, and that was it. And there was no more baseball to be played. Only 300 people watched the last World Series. And you know, it's not a secret, I think, to anybody that baseball has fallen off as a sport of interest to most people to the point where it's kind of, I would say, fourth place, maybe even fifth place in American sports hierarchy in terms of.
I could give a shit about any sports. I hope when baseball folded in Star Trek that they replaced it with a national pastime of using the little finger skateboards. They just like broadcast that on TV of people doing tricks with their tech decks or whatever those things are called.
I appreciate the context because it does make it very clear that Sisko's interest in baseball is very niche in the 24th century. There's been no baseball for hundreds of years.
Not only did baseball fold, but then also nuclear war to just really salt the earth against seeing baseball again. So like, yeah, what kind of hipster shit is this Sisko obsession with baseball?
It would be like somebody being like, I'm really into cricket from the 1940s or something like that. I don't know. Like,
I'm really into gladiatorial kart racing.
Some niche sport from hundreds of years ago that no one plays except in the most broad recreational fashion. And you're like a historian about its professional game that the last pitch of which was thrown before humanity even knew how to travel the stars. It's like the least relevant thing on the planet, and they love it. And I like knowing that. It tells you something about these characters.
What's that episode where Sisko's brother comes in and you find out that he's not into baseball, but he's more of a stick and hoop guy?
There would have been something, right? Like Sisko's brothers are all into like basketball, and they resented him because he just wouldn't show up.
No. They're into just
team.
Each of them have their own goofy, obscure, dead passion.
So okay, what are the other dead trends?
Well, stick and hoop for one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say that the middle brother is really big into Egyptian embalming process. He makes mummies.
Then you got one who's into building Gundams, specifically Gundams. Okay. Not other model kits. No. Gundams.
And then, there's a cut scene where you find out he makes the Gundams, and then, God, I don't want to fucking say. Anybody who's been on the internet and seen anything regarding overly intricate Japanese figurines knows what comes next.
While this is all going on, Jadzia, like, we kind of already talked a bit about the character beats that are happening while all of this plot's happening. Real Jadzia and Bashir have the conversation we described, and then, fake Jadzia shows up and continues to embarrass him. Rumpelstiltskin is more a
Curiously,
manifestation.
real quick, fake Jadzia does not know anything about science.
Which makes sense, because in Julian's imagination, that's not the important part.
Which I think is what she really should have taken offense to, is not that, hey, I'm
Why
really
am I
horny
dipshit?
and I want to bang you. It's you don't respect me as a scientist, and that other one doesn't even know what subspace is. Like, fuck you, buddy. Is that really what you think of me? Like that, I don't think I need to click a pen over it, but that would have been a good tertiary plot. There is their relationship, which you opened up establishing that she likes being friends with him and finds value in it. And this forces him to look at her and say, I'm devaluing you as a person. I only see you as a sexual conquest, and I am now ashamed, and this is a growth point I'm going to have to start walking down the path on.
They deliver that in the way they do it up front. They just make it comedic because, here's this really thoughtful, wise permission structure that Jadzia gives to Julian, so Dr. Fuckboy doesn't feel quite so bad about what's happened, and then, here it comes back again. I like that for the fact that this is a comedic episode, right? And this isn't being tried to be played straight, not in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is finding this absurd while it's happening. We also have Rumpelstiltskin really representing O'Brien's latent fears as it relates to protecting his daughter, of course, because Rumpelstiltskin is a child stealing dwarven spirit. And Bucko Kai, though, he's a little bit more nuanced.
O'Brien's fears manifest is something that will rob him of his daughter.
Correct.
He is living on the frontier of madness, Deep Space Nine, which should have been a sleepy little outpost where he is a value add because he speaks Cardassian and has experience with Cardassian technology. And now increasing amounts of danger are going to come through that space butthole. And he is still there with his family. Really, it doesn't work. He doesn't have a gun to his head to be there. And is this something they really start to explore, like his worry about the child being there in the super dangerous place?
I guess it's a tough call, right? You don't want your family to not be there. You've gotten very used to them being with you on assignments. The flagship was quite accommodating of the fact he met his civilian wife and got married and had a kid. And
also state of the art and not a warship.
And it's why he chose probably to take an assignment like on a space station, which is big and has a civilian population. And once again, you're placing yourself in a position that's so that your family can be there, right? Like, I'm not going to go on a freaking, frigate with only 120 people on it where there's no chance I get to take my family with me. And now you've got the situation where this assignment's become much more dangerous. Looking around, be like, yeah, maybe you can say the Enterprise was dangerous, but at least it was the best people working. And I made the decision to leave.
And
I was young. I got out of there so I could have something sleepy. And now I'm in the same position. But that's just me, do you ship them off and then you just never see them because you're not leaving your job? Do you quit? Or do you do what he chose, which is, I'm going to leave them in danger?
Right. And I mean, you've got a guy who is, as we see, very competent and has a great skill set. assuming him going back to Earth and working at Starfleet Command on, R&D or something, like, is it that wild of a stretch? Like, uh, that this guy's got a big bridge he's got to cross. Like, why is he on this station? Is it because he wants to kill Cardassians? Is it because he feels super duty bound and he knows that DS9 needs as much help as it can get? Or is this just going to ultimately be sloppy writing where this guy is keeping his child and his wife, specifically his child, on the front line of a very ugly war for question mark, question mark, question mark reason?
I think it's not the latter, because they make a point, as you would probably expect, of Keiko and Molly no longer being present on the station once
right, good.
the Union War starts.
Good.
So they definitely like clean this up a little bit to like there's a line, but I guess this is where you kind of have to have some suspension of
But
disbelief.
listen,
right?
man, it's still
It's just
fun.
yeah, doesn't make a ton of sense that he still has his kid in danger around here, but he does.
At this stage, I don't think it's dangerous enough that it's really sticking out like a sore thumb. This is really the second, because they were going to get dragged into the wormhole in the Q episode. So this is station-wide disaster event number 2, right? Well, no, because then there was Quark
There's
had
been
to
a
watch
lot.
ops while Odo goes to release the parking brake and let that guy go off and babble. And also babble virus was going to kill everybody. I don't know, man. Miles, I better not see that Father of the Year mug.
Especially when Rumpelstiltskin demands her and he doesn't actually say no.
That was the fake out there. So, like, the space slit of desire.
The black space vagina, yes.
It's threatening to blow up the station. The probe trick was insufficient. And Rumpelstiltskin kind of like pipes up like, listen, I told you I've been offering my services the whole time I've been here. I can stop this. You imagined me, this magical creature. I have magical powers. I don't know if you didn't see me teleporting around. I can fix this for you. You just need to play the rules. You need to give me your firstborn. And I really thought Rumpelstiltskin was going to hold the key to like shutting this down, and that they were making like a morality play here or something. Cause you know that this is a research experiment. Ultimately, it's an observer effect. And then,
yeah, because you informed, we touched on it, but there's definitely conversation halfway through the episode. So, and then the Buck Okai, the baseball player one, is the one that's clearly the leader and also the one that seems to be making the most specifically diplomatic overtures through baseball analogies, but also he's still the one that's trying to kind of do something here, and they don't seem sinister. The circumstances seem dire, but the aliens themselves do nothing to anybody the entire time, and that's I think by design. They're distracting, but they don't actually do anything to anybody.
True. And everything you see out of the main cast, they hold these guys at arm's length. I think these aliens are getting a lot of filthy feedback from the rest of the station, though. Certainly Quark.
Oh yeah, obviously.
And
I wonder if all the ones that kind of got stuck in sex imagination land were like having other meetings and be like, these horny motherfuckers are unreal.
Please stop this.
Can someone please tell the boss to wrap this up? We need to get I don't want to fuck him again. I can't do it. How many times have JO'd his ear already today? Get me the fuck out of here.
The shapeshifter has me stuck in his dungeon, and he's doing very naughty things to me. I just, please stop this terrible Stanford experiment. I can't take this anymore. Great case of Cisco out of nowhere having figured he got his jump to conclusion mat out, I believe.
He did.
What happened there.
Just a bit. Like, time to wrap this up. It's all in our heads.
It's a mat, and you unroll it, and then you jump to conclusions.
What if it's all made up? What if it's we're just our own imaginations are making it real?
Yeah. What if we just turn the shields off and everybody give up and pretend it's cool? The fuck did you just say?
No one's like, boss, what if that doesn't work? Like, what's plan B here? What's plan B? Nah, just we die, I guess. If it's real, we're just dead anyway. Fuck it. Fuck it, dude.
It is what it is. Famous last words. Not the best ending, I'm going to tell you that. They all give up. Things chill out. Turns out Cisco jumped to the correct conclusion. Everybody whooshes away, and then he goes up to his ready room, and Bucko Kai walks back out, and they have a real chill bro civil conversation, which, again, the higher of a threat that you pose to the immediate destruction of the space station, the more leeway and the nicer Cisco is with you after the fact. Zero repercussions.
Well, I mean, after he realized it was all in their imaginations and this was all just some sort of elaborate ruse of some kind, and the guy walks in and is like, yeah, hi, we were doing first contact, the way we do, because we're non-corporeal aliens from the Gamma Quadrant, and we just figured out this whole imagination thing you guys got going here, and it's so cool. And we
As
thought
the
this would be
guy-
a great way to figure you guys out, and turns out it was. So thank you. And
As
you
the
weren't in
guy,
any danger the whole time anyway. So just to be clear, we're all good here.
as the guy that got to hang out on the bridge and, toss the old baseball back and forth with you, I had a great time. The rest of my coworkers, who are all bleeding from their butts right now, they do not like you.
It's like, listen, we got along great. You got some other crew members that are good. You have a lot of suppressed BDSM fans on the station on your payroll. We're not okay with that. We are not going to initiate formal first contact. You're not ready. You're not ready, and I know that because Philip is gaping now, and you did that.
There's a reason everybody else is still in the car and we're having this conversation in private.
Right. They just need to get into fucking non-corporeal Winnebago so they get the fuck out of here.
We're going to go back through the wormhole, which, we didn't see the wormhole just open up on its own at any point, which I would say following something like this would be something that they would be really worried about. Okay, the wormhole's opening.
What's coming out?
Nothing.
There was a whole thing about it.
Nothing came out. All right, red alert.
I mean, they are non-corporeal, so, who knows, right?
You have to assume that they just came across with a ship and they've just been hanging out for a little bit.
So,
no big deal. No harm, no foul.
I like how it ended. I like the sort of chill conversation of, why didn't you just talk to us? And that there was a real reason behind it. And, yeah, you know what? Maybe in a year we'll come back. I'll tell you about ourselves, and we'll do this again. But we needed to get a sense of who you guys are. And you know what? We liked what we saw. Aside from the bleeding buttholes, you guys are pretty great.
Aside from the butt stuff, and there was a lot of butt stuff. Being back into the next episode, closing thought on this. This no big deal ending. There's been a couple of these now. Maybe Cisco knows, hey, there's nothing I can do against these guys, and I'm just going to roll with the punches on this, I guess. Everybody's still living here. This is the fourth time this has happened now. There's no reason for anybody to be on this space station, minus the one guy who I extorted him to staying here on threat of imprisoning his nephew. But, everybody else signed up for this, or so I'm going to tell myself.
Fucking Kira just being frustrated the entire time. I got this reading. I don't know what that means. Not her strength.
No.
She's not there to do science. She's there to kill Cardassians, and
they're
not going to be
films.
They're not going to be doing that next week, though. What are we watching next week?
This is crazy, man. This is a short season. There's only 20 episodes in season 1. We're almost done with the first season, and I feel like we just started watching DS9. Luckily, we've got 7 seasons here. This isn't Enterprise and their 4 bullshit. Was that Troy? Goodness, why? The Forsaken. An alien computer program wreaks havoc with the station system during a visit from Lwaxana Troy and other ambassadors. Oh boy.
You thought you were going to escape Lwaxana Troy episodes here on DS9. You thought you were free.
I never minded Lwaxana Troy until other people started kind of rolling their eyes, and I get it now, and I do not look forward to it. We haven't really watched a Lwaxana episode yet, have we?
No, this is definitely going to be our first. This is our first Majel Barrett moment aside from Enterprise computer voice. So honestly, I think time has warmed me up to Lwaxana Troy and just being a middle-aged woman nonsense brought onto the show because, you know, she was the old boss's wife. So in any case, thanks for listening to V'ger Please, and we'll see you next week.